So Sade, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of technology. But before we go into technology, can you share with us a little bit about your own journey? Where did you grow up?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So I grew up in a small town in KwaZulu-Natal called Pietermaritzburg,
Right.
and have lived in Johannesburg for about 20 years.
So what was your dream career when you grew up?
My dream career was first to be an artist, until I realized that I wasn't so good at painting. And then discovered that I was really passionate about helping other people. And so my dream career for the longest time was to be a clinical psychologist, actually.
And when did you move into your current career?
So when I finished my honours degree in clinical psychology, I didn't have enough counselling experience to get into a master's program. I decided to go into the corporate world for a while, doing something very far removed from my passion, which was clinical psychology and empowering and helping other people. While I was there, I stumbled across an NLP and life coaching course that I decided to do really just for my own personal development. And then I fell in love with it. I saw how it very quickly changed my own mind, and also helped me to identify the limiting beliefs that had been holding me back for a number of years. So after that kind of first-hand self-transformation, I decided that coaching and NLP was a very powerful tool to empower others, and decided to pursue a master practitioner's course in that, and then go into the coaching field.
So can you tell us who inspired you? Looking back at your career, who inspired you to go the extra mile?
Sure. You know, honestly, and I know this answer might be a bit cliche, but it was very definitely my mom. My dad died when I was 3, so I was raised by a very strong, independent woman who taught me that there were no limits to my future, only the limits I created for myself. And so having that kind of upbringing really taught me to believe that I have no limits, and I could really pursue whatever I wanted to in life.
And looking back over your career, would you say there was a turning point?
A turning point, so like I said, I was in corporate for a number of years before I decided to leave and pursue coaching full time. The turning point for me was really a decision to pursue my passion and my purpose, and to do what I loved every day. And I guess the people that inspired me to do that were my line manager at the time, but also just looking at the countless success stories around me, of people who had taken that brave step, left the corporate world, had gone off on their own to pursue something that they really loved and enjoyed doing.
And Sade, tell us, what is driving you today?
Sure. Aside from 5 cups of coffee this morning, I think really just the pursuit of purpose. So I always say to people, I sell dreams and I peddle purpose, because the focus of my coaching practice is really about the pursuit of purpose, and that's what drives me today.
Now, let's talk about the future of technology. And I know it's a big question, but I need to ask you, what does the future of technology mean to you?
So there are 2 parts to it, I think. I think the one part is that it's always exciting to be on the edge of the unknown, and really advancement in technology these days has just been far beyond our wildest imagination, almost. So it feels to me like the future of technology will move very much from a server-centric approach to a service-centric approach. And what that means for me is barriers will be broken down, where technology is kind of a tool used by other people to serve a purpose, and move more into the space of everyone needs to learn how to integrate technology into their everyday lives. So the future of technology for me is exciting, somewhat scary, but I think thrilling nonetheless.
And tell us, what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
Sure. So from my own journey, I definitely think that one of the key things has been that anything is possible, and that you are capable of anything you put your mind to. I think, growing up where I did and in the circumstances I did, I very definitely should not even be sitting here today across from you. And so I think having the mindset that anything is possible is definitely a characteristic of a future leader, not having limits and being able to test limits and innovate in and around the constraints of society and our own thoughts.
And tell us, when you speak to aspiring leaders, what do you tell them they should focus on for future-proofing their career?
Sure. I think this is a very important question, particularly in South Africa. I think that the skills of the future need to be taught in schools already, and some schools have been quite innovative in that sense. But some of the skills, aside from the kind of the robotics and the coding and computing skills, I think social intelligence is going to be a very important one to future-proof careers. I think virtual collaboration is another very important one for future-proofing careers. And then there's things like the sense-making and having a design mindset. So all of these different skills that have been identified as critical to success in the workplace for the future, those should really be the skills that we're focusing on empowering our youth with, but also already people in the working space.
Now, Sade, what are the technologies of the future that you believe will be driving humanity, will be driving the planet, will be driving the future?
So, one that excites me very much is neurohacking. I mentioned part of my coaching is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, so I'm quite excited about neurohacking. I think it's been in the cards for a while, but I've recently read an article that made note of some quite exciting improvements in that area. I think youth tech movements are going to become more and more common. So the first example that we experienced of that was the Arab Spring in 2011. I think that will become more and more common going into the future. So youth using technology to create movements, that are scalable and that get results quite quickly. And then other kind of technology that I'm excited about going into the future is really, I guess, technology that allows us to make massive strides in terms of medicine, and then in turn obviously decreases the price of that medical care. So I'm really excited about nanotechnology in that sense.
Now, Sade, when you speak to future leaders, what do you tell them they should, or what advice do you give them about social media? How they should use social media, maybe what platforms they should focus on, and what not to do?
Sure. So I think social media has been and will continue to be very integral to building an identity in society. I think in the future we'll see a move from social media and more towards social platforms. So instead of people going to a website to find out who you are or who your business is about, they will be able to have access to your social identity, which is really just an accumulation of all of the information that's available to the public. So I think that social media can be used as a legacy building exercise for aspiring leaders, because what you put out there is essentially what you're leaving behind and what people will have access to. So that it really is your social identity. In terms of specific social media, I think things like Instagram has kind of overtaken Facebook a little bit, at least for me, in terms of relevance. Twitter has always been. And I think just the way people and aspiring leaders use social media is important. So things like live video chats to get your messages across, social messaging, that kind of stuff.
And tell us, in your work with future leaders, can you maybe share a case study or a success story with us where you mentored somebody and that person took your advice to heart and achieved success?
So this is a little bit of a cheat for me because I actually did a lot of work with an outreach and mentoring program. And part of that, I think I had 10 young girls. And the success stories there, I'll tell you one in particular. I mean, these girls came from a very disadvantaged area in Johannesburg without ever really having previously thought about studying or furthering their education. And as a result of that outreach and mentoring program, one of my mentees rather, did end up studying. She got a full scholarship to study psychology, funnily enough, and is now in her third year. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. And who are the role models of technology, or maybe the role models of leadership, that you suggest future leaders should study and learn from?
I'll use two technology-focused examples. I think Elon Musk, for me, is a fantastic role model of somebody who just keeps pushing past the imaginable. And I think if we can aspire to be like him and to think like him, the world that we live in just has no bounds, really. A female tech-based role model for me is Catherine Parsons, the founder of Decoded. Her company aims to increase digital literacy. And that for me is really important. So when we were talking about the skills needed in the future, things like digital literacy are crucial. So Catherine Parsons is a fantastic role model for me.
Now, Sade, how can people get hold of you? How can they connect with you?
The easiest way is going to be via my website, and that is www.sadesavings.com. So it's SADE savings.com. And that comes straight to my inbox. So that's the easiest way. On Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, my handle is Coached by Sade.
Coached by Sade?
Coached by Sade, yeah.
And last but not least, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to convey to future leaders that they should implement in their own leadership?
Sure. I'll tell you one piece of advice that has changed my life forever. In 2011, I was in Zurich at One Young World, and one of the counselors got on stage and he recommended to us that we create an advisory board for our lives. And on that advisory board, we very carefully put people who can shape and guide us along our journey to what we aspire to be. And I can tell you very definitely that without that, I would never be where I am today. So create an advisory board for your life, very carefully choosing the people that are going to guide and support you on your journey, because that can change your trajectory forever.
Well, Sade, thank you so much for sharing your insights, sharing your wisdom, and helping us build a better future.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Nick.